Well, hello again. We're here with Pittsburgh Modular. You guys have got a new instrument at the show that's sort of an evolution of a previous instrument. So it was the Voltage Research Laboratory.
It was.
And we're now on the Voltage Lab 2, is that
Yes.
correct? Fantastic. So just a quick chat through what's changed from the first iteration of the instrument, what's new?
Well, it's twice the size, so
Yep.
that's
The most obvious
that
thing.
gives you an idea of how much we've changed it internally. Like it's essentially a completely different instrument. We've kept the spirit of the original Voltage Research Laboratory, but what we've done is we've gone through it and expanded every single section. So
Yeah.
the idea that the Voltage Research Laboratory was a way to experiment with new types of synthesis. This, now 5 years later, just adds to that. So what we have is new analog designs for shaping waveforms.
Yep.
We have a very big new touch controller that lives somewhere in the world of, say, that Berlin school style 16-step sequencer,
Yep.
but it brings it into the present and adds all of the features that you would expect from a modern style
Yeah.
sequencer. That coupled with all the additional tools and sort of Pittsburgh bits that we're well known for, like our dynamics controller,
Yep.
which allows us to, we redesigned the low-pass gate, again, to bring it into the modern world. So the low-pass gate has this beautiful sort of plucky sound. And what we're able to do with that is recreate that, but expand it. So now that pluckiness of a low-pass gate, you can change how long that lasts.
Yeah.
And you can do it with CV, so that can become part of your performance. We've added our bucket brigade. We have, instead of one delay now, we have two delays. We have the echoes, which is a traditional delay where you're going to get up to about a half-second worth of time out of it. And then we've added the florist. And the florist is sort of, we call the florist because if you say flanger and chorus really fast, several times, you end up at about
I did
florist.
wonder where the name had come from.
Yeah, and I just find it's funny. So most of these things are really just inside jokes for me anyway.
Why not?
Entertain myself in the evenings.
Yeah.
But the florist is great. So it gives you about 4 milliseconds to about 30 milliseconds. So very short delay time. But that gives you some of those carpless strong effects if you want to get that sort of string sound out of it. But it also allows you to do more traditional flanger, chorus, and spring reverb type effects.
Right.
And again, all under voltage control, which gives you the research laboratory side of it,
Yeah.
which allows you to experiment. One of the things with the Voltage Lab that's different than, say, our Taiga desktop and keyboard is there's no internal patching in the Voltage Lab.
Right.
So again, we didn't want to sort of prejudice anybody into a single signal path. We really wanted it to be something that's an open format for experimentation. It does come with a manual and it comes with patch cables. We're not going to leave you to the wolves, but we do want it to be a bit of a journey for you.
Yeah.
And I think as you're learning this, you're also learning analog synthesis, which the more you learn about that, it translates to all the instruments you use, whether you use a lot of VST instruments or vintage instruments, or you just have, some modern instruments. The core of the voices are all relatively similar.
Yeah.
Now, we've added some stuff on top of that, but you can still accomplish all your traditional synth stuff.
Yeah.
So very specifically, some of the interesting bits we've done is, and you can hear it here, so what you're hearing is the Laboratory Oscillator 1, and this brings something new to analog synthesis, really synthesis in general that hasn't been available. We call it center clipping. And what that does is it allows you to affect the waveform from the middle out.
Okay.
So from sort of ground, you're pulling the wave in instead of
Right.
affecting it sort of top down like you would
You're
with
doing
a
it the other
wave
way
folder
around, yeah.
or a filter. This does it from the middle out center clipping. And what that means to a musician is you have independent control over the even and odd harmonics,
Right.
which really opens up a lot of subtlety and a lot of interesting ways to then attack the waveform to create new timbres. And you can, of course, do this all with voltage control, which means you end up with a very physical, very dynamic sound, which is what we're going for. We love the idea of, if you heard this instrument sort of plucking away in the corner or the backyard, you wouldn't necessarily be sure if it was someone playing like a physical instrument or if it was a synthesizer. And that sort of blurry area is where we love to play in.
Yeah.
So the voicing in this, we also have the second oscillator, which adds additional new technologies to analog synthesis, where we have a square wave that we've added an additional step to. So it looks like a set of stairs that you can modulate both on the X and Y axis, and that just gives you an additional point. It all still sounds like a pulse wave, but it's a lot of different flavors then. Think of like a wavetable or pulse waves.
Yeah.
So you can then shift between those with voltage control and all that, which is really, really nice. And then obviously you can't forget the ridiculous controller down here at the bottom. The controller is 2 channels, fully independent, the red and the yellow, and what that gives you is the ability to do 2 sequences of up to 16 steps, or one is running a sequence, one you're performing on the capacitive touch pads. Yep. You also have this blue section in the middle, which gives you gate line. So that's shared by both channels, but what it does is, again, it opens it up. So every step's a little bit different. Like I said, there's 2 sequences. They both share a clock, but you can run them at different clock divisions. You can run, the steps can have different lengths. The sequences can be different lengths. This thing is endlessly deep. I can talk about it for 2 hours. I don't want to bore your audience with that much, but just a couple little highlights. Each channel has both a pitch out and a CV out. The pitch out is quantized. And now that could be quantized to your choice of key and scale. If you do microtonal music, you can do it up to 32-step equal temperament per octave. Right. Or down to 1, I guess it would just be 1 note per octave, or anywhere in between. You could also do, to extend the sequence, you can set it up so that you have step jumps, where you say when you get to step 9, what you do is jump back to step 1 30% of the time, or 2 out of 3 times. Right. And what that does is that creates extended sequences. Now you can assign that to every step, and in that case you just end up with a tangled mess. But the point is, you can do a lot with what is available. As much or as little variation. Exactly, as you like, because there's no screen, there's no menu diving. Everything is very hands-on. Yeah. It's designed for live performance, and it's designed to give you what you expect in a live performance. So the knob, like I said, it's quantized to the key and scale. If you have this set up, you can play the touch controllers chromatically, or you can have it set up so that the knobs give you the voltage. So regardless of how you set it up, it's going to give you something in a live performance that you're going to be happy with. Yeah. And it does output MIDI as well, so you can play this polyphonically MIDI out to an instrument that is polyphonic if you wanted. Right. This is not. This is a monophonic, maybe duophonic instrument, depending on how you patch it, because there is 2 of everything. But it just, again, it's endlessly deep. Yeah, and of course, it is completely self-contained. You've got everything there you need, should you want, or you can incorporate it with a larger rig. Of course. It comes, in this beautiful case. It is your rack, but at 90 HP, I'm not sure who's going to be taking this out and putting it in a larger case. Sure. Maybe if you're touring or you have a larger travel case, it would make sense. But for the most part, I think people are going to use this as a standalone instrument. It was designed to stand on its own as a sound laboratory. It does come with, you get 20 patch cables with it. You get a nice manual with it. And there'll be a lot of patch examples in the manual to get you started. Yeah. So that we don't leave you totally out there in the cold. Because it is a very intimidating looking instrument if you look at it from afar. But once you sort of step through it, you realize, oh, okay, I'm vaguely familiar with a lot of these concepts. And then you just jump in. We made it as welcoming as we could for something that really is pushing the envelope of what you can do with both synthesis and with the controller side. Fantastic. When's it going to be shipping? It's shipping Currently, it's on a boat, so it will be available late June.
Okay.
And you can pre-order it now from all of the places people pre-order things.
Yep.
It's 2150 euro and 2,000 US dollars.
Fantastic.
And that's my story.
Amazing. Thank you very much.